Joining me now is Democratic Congressman from Virginia, James Walkinshaw. He sits on both the Homeland Security and Oversight Committees, and he just returned from a trip to Minnesota with a number of other Democratic representatives to speak with people impacted by this enhanced immigration enforcement. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's start here. What was your main takeaway after spending some time in Minneapolis on the ground there?
It was really powerful for me to hear firsthand from the folks on the ground in Minnesota. And all of us, I think Americans across the country are seeing these images and these videos of the violence. But what I learned is that businesses have had to close down. Schools have had to close down. Folks are in their homes, staying in their homes because they're afraid. American citizens staying in their homes because they're afraid of their government. And, I saw Todd Blanche there talking about folks calling 911. People in Minnesota are calling 911 because they are afraid of their government, the federal government that they pay for with their tax dollars. They're afraid that they might be the next person to be dragged through the street, to be beaten, or God forbid, to be shot, as Renee Good was. That's what's happening in Minnesota right now.
Congressman, I know that as you were on your way, you were posting about your trip and you talked about accountability in Minnesota and on the ground there. I'm curious, though, is there anything really, though, that you or Congress can do to rein in ICE or stop any part of this enforcement action from the White House?
Well, two things. I think one of the reasons that I and 27 other House Democrats were in Minnesota yesterday was to send a message to anyone who's involved in violating the law or violating constitutional rights of Americans, that even if there isn't accountability under the Trump administration, there will be accountability under a future Congress. And leadership of ICE, leadership of CBP, leadership of these other agencies will be subpoenaed. They will be questioned. They will have to answer for the things that they have done. Second, the House, I think, will vote next week on a funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security. I and other Democrats are fighting hard for language to rein in ICE, to end the masking, to end the secret police, to require warrants, to require real use of force standards that are applied and enforced. And if that language isn't in the bill, I'm not going to vote for it.
Congressman, do you see any scenario in which ICE can operate in Minnesota and do its job without the situation turning chaotic, as we've seen over the past 2 weeks now?
Well, look, what ICE and the other federal immigration enforcement agencies should do is to return to the way that they have operated for decades, which is targeted enforcement, truly focusing on the small number of folks who are in the country, who are undocumented and are involved in violent crime. If they do that, they could, over time, perhaps rebuild trust with American people and with Minnesotans. Right now, I think the smartest thing, anyone who's interested in peace, who wants Minnesota to be calm, would be for the thousands of federal agents who are there now to withdraw.
Congressman, we learned last night that now the DOJ is investigating both Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Governor Tim Walz. Wanted to get your reaction to that news.
It's another in a long list of absurd and frightening political investigations from Donald Trump's Justice Department, which he is now stacked with his personal lawyers like Todd Blanche, who are loyal to Donald Trump, not loyal to the Constitution. It's an effort to intimidate as well. Look, I think the goal here is probably not to get a guilty verdict of Governor Walz or Mayor Frey. I think they know that's not going to happen, but the goal is to intimidate their political opponents, to intimidate folks like me from speaking out, or the next mayor in a Democratic city that ICE enters, or the next Democratic governor in a state that ICE enters. Maybe you don't want to be so vocal or speak out in support of your citizens or the Constitution, because you might be the next one to have an investigation. That's what they're trying to do. I don't think it's going to work, but that's what they're trying to do.
Congressman, I only have about 20 seconds left here. Just real quick, do you think that DHS Secretary Kristi Noem should be impeached? And do you anticipate that happening if the Democrats take the House?
She's failed to do her job. She's failed to uphold the Constitution. She should step down. She should be fired. If she doesn't, Congress should start a process to remove her. That's what we've started to do on the Homeland Security Committee, the Democrats.
All right, Congressman James Walkinshaw, thank you so much for sharing your perspective from being on the ground in Minnesota the past few days. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.